you guys if you couldn't find it. So anyway, hopefully this works fine. Okay, here we go with lesson 10. Okay, so like I said, this lesson is quite short. It is quite easy. And then when we're done, we're going to do your test corrections and we're going to get them all done. And I'm going to do like 4 problems with you from your test. If you want to pay attention, then I can help you do that. Okay, so today is all about long division. Okay, so if we're dividing 465 by 11, so you learned this years and years and years ago. Okay, we're just going back in time and remembering a very simple concept. Okay, so on the outside, you put the 11, and on the inside, you put 465. Okay, now stick right with me. Okay, so how many times does 11 go into 4? It doesn't. So then you go 11 into 46, right? And that's 4. And remember, the 4 is supposed to go right up above the 6, like that. Okay, and then 11 times 4 is 44. And then after you multiply, what do you do right there, everybody? You subtract, and you get a 2. And then what do you do now? Do you remember? Bring down the 5, and then you just start all over again, right? 11 times 2 is 22. And then you do what? Subtract, and you get a 3. And there's nothing more to bring down, so the 3 is my what? My remainder. So you were taught to write this as 42 and 3/11. Okay, so write that down. Today, we're going to start doing it with variables, and you can't write it like that anymore. You have to write it as 42 plus 3/11. Okay, so just be aware that that remainder has to be its own separate term. It can't be right next to the 42. Okay, all right, let's do question 2. One more, just very simple, remembering how to do it the basic way. Okay, so on the outside goes a 22. On the inside, 7,284. Okay, 22 does not go into 7. So I'm going to go 22 into 72 is 3 times. 22 times 3 is 66. What do I do now? Subtract, and I get a 6. And then what do I do? Bring down the 8, right? Now I do it again. 22 times 3 is 66. Then I subtract and get a 2. And then I bring down the 4. So 22 times 1 is 22. And then I subtract and get a 2, and there's nothing more to bring down. I've already brought everything down. So the way that you're going to write it today would be 331. And do you see how the 2 is a plus? So we're going to go plus 2 over 22. Now, you wouldn't actually get full credit for that. Tell me why you wouldn't. It reduces, right? Yep. So it's 331 plus 1 over 11, and that's your answer. Okay, all right, here we go with some variables. Okay, so you're dividing by x minus 1. So guys, the x minus 1 goes on the outside. On the inside is 3x to the second plus x minus 2. Okay, everybody freeze right there before we start, okay? And if you could listen to a few things. Number 1, this is a concept that is in both 1010 and 1050. So if we can get you nice and solid here, it's going to definitely help you when you get to 1050, okay? The other thing I want to say is this. Look on the outside. Do you see how the biggest exponent is a 1? You have to have that exponent of 1, and you have to have a constant. That's a number with no letters, and you do. Look at the inside. The biggest exponent is a 2. So you have to have a 2 and a 1 and a constant, which I do. So everything's fine. Sometimes you're missing things. Does anybody remember what you're supposed to do when there are things missing? You put in a 0, and then like if you're missing an x squared, you go 0x squared. Yes, and that's going to happen in a minute, okay? Okay, here we go, nice and slowly. Everybody stick right with me, okay? What do I multiply by x to get 3x to the second? That would be 3x. Good. Here's where people get confused. Everybody freeze right here for 2 seconds. I'm going to show you 2 places that people make mistakes, okay? So take that 3x, just jot this down one time. What I'm doing is I'm taking the 3x and I'm distributing it across what I'm dividing by. x minus 1. So now I go 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times a negative 1 is a negative 3x. So that's one place people mess up. The next place is right here. What do I do now after I multiply those together? You subtract, right? You subtract those. So to subtract those, what I do is I change the signs of all the terms in what I just found. Okay, so the 3x squared becomes a negative, the 3x becomes a positive. Now these go away. If you did it right, the first things will always go away. If they don't go away, then you did it wrong. Okay, 1x plus 3x is 4x. Tell me what to do now, everybody. Bring down the 2. Okay, what do I multiply by x to get 4x? That would be a 4. Distribute, and you get 4x minus 4. Look what people will do. Look right here. So this doesn't happen to you. Look at this. They go like that, go like that. Remainder's a negative 6. Very common error. What did I not do? Change the signs. So those both change. So my remainder is actually not a negative 6. What is it, everybody? A 2 is correct. So my answer is written like this. 3x plus 4. The 2 is a positive. So you go plus 2 over x minus 1. And that's it. Okay, and then there's a question, is x minus 1 a factor? Does anybody know the answer to that question? It is not a factor, and I'm so thrilled and impressed that you know that the answer is no. How do you know that it is not a factor? Somebody tell me. If the answer is supposed to be yes, then the remainder would be, tell me, 0, and that's a big part of 1050, okay, is knowing that, so that's awesome. Okay, question number 4. On the outside, you have 2x minus 1. Nothing's missing. I have an exponent of 1 and I have a constant. On the inside, I have 2x to the third minus 5x to the second minus 6x plus 1, and nothing's missing. Okay, what do I multiply by 2x to get 2x to the third? That would be x squared, right? Now I distribute. 2x times x squared is 2x to the third. X squared times a negative 1 is a negative x squared. Tell me what to do right now. Change the signs of the things you just found, right? First things cancel. A negative 5 and a positive 1 is a negative 4x squared. What do I do now? Talk to me. Bring down the negative 6x. And then you just start all over again. So what do I multiply by 2x to get a negative 4x squared? What is that? Negative 2x. And now you distribute. So a negative 2x times 2x is a negative 4x squared. A negative 2x times a negative 1 is a positive 2x. Change my signs. First terms cancel. I get a negative 8x. Is that my remainder? What do I do? Bring down the 1. Yeah. What do I multiply by 2x to get a negative 8x? That's a negative 4. Distribute, and you get a negative 8x plus 4. The remainder is not 5. Okay, very common mistake right there. So change both the signs, and your remainder is a, tell me, negative 3. Yeah. So your answer is x to the second minus 2x minus 4. You could write this in 2 ways. This is the only time I really allow people to do plus or minus, or maybe like say it's okay for them to do it. You could do this plus a negative 3 over 2x minus 1. That's totally fine. Another thing is a positive times a negative is a negative, so you could just write it as a negative like that. Okay?
Negative 4 is negative 2. It's positive 2 times a negative.
Say it again.
Oh, never mind. I just answered that.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. I love when you try to correct me. I love it when you do correct me, and I love it when it doesn't work out, because you're paying attention and you care. That's all I care about. Is it a factor, everybody? No, it's not, because I got a remainder that was something other than 0. Okay? Okay, example 5. On the outside, x minus 3. On the inside, x to the third minus 2x to the second minus 9. Okay? Anybody want to say anything? What's going on? You need an x. Okay? Write it down like this. And I want you to write it on your paper. And we're going to do it wrong for a minute. And fixing it is just going to be a few eraser marks. So it won't be a big deal. Don't worry that we're doing it wrong because we'll fix it. But I want to show you what happens if you don't fill in the 0x. Okay, so let's just roll with it as if we didn't know. Watch. What do I multiply by x to get x to the third? That's x to the second. Then I distribute and I get x to the third minus 3x to the second. Then I change my signs. Everyone should be writing right with me, okay? Those x to the thirds cancel. And now I get x to the second, bring down the negative 9. And now I start again. What do I multiply by x to get x to the second? That would be an x. Then I distribute, and I get x to the second minus 3x. Do you see the problem? I haven't done anything wrong, but now I have a 9 stacked on top of a negative 3x, and I can't even add those together. So it starts getting a little bit confusing. Who says I understand? I see what's happening. Okay, great. So now let's fix it. It's not a big deal. See this minus 9? Just erase it and fill in a plus 0x minus 9. Then right here where you brought down the negative 9, just get rid of that, and you actually would have just brought down a 0x. So now we just fixed it. Okay, now I have to change my signs. So the next ones go to negative positive. The x squareds cancel, and I get 3x. Tell me what to do now. Bring down the 9. What do I multiply by x to get 3x? That would be a 3. Distribute, and I get 3x minus 9. Change your signs. They both cancel, so my remainder is 0. So the answer is right there up at the top. And is it a factor, everybody?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I mean, it doesn't get any more difficult than that today. Nice and easy. And it's the last time I'm going to see you before the weekend. So you can get your homework started. I don't know if you'll necessarily get done, but it'll be nice. Okay? Okay, on the outside, do you see how they wrote it as a fraction? It just means the same thing. So the x squared minus 3 goes on the outside. Freeze right there for just a second. Does anybody want to say anything to me? The outside also has to have everything. So there's something missing. What's missing? The x to the first. So you have to fill in plus 0x minus 3. Okay, look at the inside. Is anything missing on the inside? A third, right? So you're going to go 5x to the 4th plus 0x to the third minus 2x to the second plus 8x plus 2. You guys, it's nice and it's clean and it's organized and we're ready. So that's where you got to be, okay? And it's legible. What do I multiply by x to the second to get 5x to the 4th? That is 5x to the second. 5x to the second times x to the second is 5x to the 4th. 5x to the second times 0x is 5x to the third. No. No. Let's keep going with that line and then let's go back. I just want to confuse anyone. 5x to the second times a negative 3 is a negative 15x to the second. That line is not right. What's wrong again? Say it again. Yeah, 5 times 0 is not 5. That's a very common error. You think that would be surprising, right? It's very common. People put 5 and they're supposed to put what, everybody? 0. Yeah, so be careful, okay? Don't forget to change your signs. First terms cancel. And then look what happens. The second term cancel as well. Don't panic. Just go with it. Negative 2 plus 15 is a 13x squared. Bring down the 8x. Okay, now something weird is still happening because I have 3 terms that I'm dividing by and I only have 2. That doesn't match. It has to be 3 and 3 or else it's going to turn out weird. So what do? Just bring down something else. Sure, the fact that 2 things canceled caused me to have to bring 2 things down. It's not anything to worry about. Okay, what do I multiply by x to the second to get 13x to the second? It's 13. Distribute, and you get 13x to the second plus 0x minus 39. Then I change my signs. First terms cancel, and I get 8x plus 41. So your answer is 5x to the second plus 13 plus 8x plus 41 all over x to the second minus 3. There's your answer. Is it a factor, yes or no?
No.
No. And they're both answers, so make sure you box or highlight both. Okay? All right. Check it out. We have one more problem, and we're done. Sweet. Okay? Okay, look at question 7. So question 7 is a little different than the other ones that I've done. And I'm actually going to show you like a little shortcut trick on this thing. Okay? Can anybody tell me what's different? Say it again. 1. I hear people saying 1. Yeah, 1. What are you talking about? You say it again. 1 value. What's that called? This has 2. It's called a what? What's the prefix? Yes, you're so cute. He says nomial. It's a nomial. It's almost. It is nomial, but it's the prefix missing. Look right here. What's that guy? He's a what? 2 means bi, so that's a binomial. And you guys are awesome. My other class couldn't come up with a binomial. Binomial. Are they always going to be binomials? No, you could have a trie, right? I think we did have a trie, didn't we? Oh, we did. It really actually was a trie because we had to fill that in, right? So the point is, this one is a monomial, okay? So draw an arrow right there and put monomial, okay? So the only time you can do this trick is if it's a monomial, okay? If you wanted to, you could do the whole long division thing and put 2x a second plus 0x plus 0 and divide it into that guy. Nothing wrong with that. But I think there's an easier way. So everybody write down that original expression. And if it's a monomial, and only if it's a monomial, then what you can do is you can divide each of those separately by 2x to the second, and then just simplify it. Okay, so this is a great lead into next time's lesson. It's going to kind of lead us in. So look at that. 4 over 2, that's a 2, right? If you have 4 x's on top and 2 x's on bottom, where do you have more on top or bottom? On the top. How many more? 2. So you have x squared left on the top. Now look at this green. Oops, didn't mean to scribble. Now look at this green. 2 over 2 cancels and just gives me a 1. 3 x's on top, 2 x's on bottom. Where do you have more? On the top. How many more? 1 more. Okay, now look at this pink. It's obviously going to be a negative. 20 over 2 is a 10. X a second just goes away. Okay, now let's do, I'm trying to change to a highlighter and it's not connecting. Okay, now we're going to do purple. It's going to be a negative. 12 over 2 is a 6. Where do I have more x's, you guys, on the top or on the bottom? Bottom. How many more? 2 more. That's your answer. I think that's easier, don't you think? But you can only do it when you're dividing by a monomial. Yep, that's it. Okay, that is it.